Hello everyone. Today we are going to look at how to create a rendering like this. This is an image recreation challenge number 2. Alright, so we are going to recreate this house and this car. It has softer shadows, wooden texture, and we will see how to get this done. This would be the result that you will get by following this tutorial. Okay, so if you can get a better result, it would be great to share it in the chat box down. So let us get started and see how this can be done. So we'll first model the house and then we'll model the car. So we'll start with a box and a cube. Okay, so we looked at how we should not scale the object while modeling and work with vertices and edges to get a clean modifiers such as bevel or inset later on. Alright, so to create this house, first we need this triangular part. So what I will do is in modify panel, I'll go to edged faces and make sure that I add one segment. Okay, so I get this which I can pull up. So I'll convert it to editable poly, select this edge and pull it up. Alright, so I get the triangular part. It is quite high up, and then maybe we can move the whole thing down and move this further up. Okay, then we need this thickness for extruding the. So there are two ways to do it. Either you can extrude the faces up like this. Okay, and then you can simply extrude them up so you get the thickness, or you can extrude it. You can simply connect the edge loop, make sure nothing else is selected, and then you can go to connect and then slide it up, and then you will basically get an edge loop. But you can see that this distance and this distance is not same, so we can use the other method of extruding and we get the same result. Okay, I'll select this one, control select this one, and by the way this seems like too much, so we need to move it slightly down. We will extrude this down. The distance for me this looks good, and then I will move it down, and then you can look in the front view to make sure it is straight. Okay, and now this is at an angle. Okay, so we need one of these to go up, so I think I will move this up and then scale it inside so you get them at an angle. Okay, now I don't need the bottom because it will be on the ground, so I will delete it. Now let us work on the window. So I'll go to edge and then select these edges, make sure nothing else is selected, and then I'm going to why I'm selecting the back ones even though I'm not creating a back window is I want four-sided polygons all the time. So if I create a line here, it has to go through and through the model. So I'm going to connect it, and I need two lines, and then I'll spread them apart. This is 0. So this is the width of the window, and then you can decide where the window should be. Okay, and then I'll create one line for the door here, so I'll connect, and then I'll only use one, and then slide it here. So this will be our door and this will be our window. Okay. So now we need the top of the door and the window, the top line. Again, I'll select this and I will connect it. And you can see that it is creating a triangular line. So I can use the scale tool and scale it straight. Okay. And then if I look at the image, the door and the window are quite below this line. So if you want to get the house look similar to this one, then I think the line has to be significantly down. Alright, so now I will again connect and slide it down. This will be the line for the window. So again, I just wanted the window line, but it also comes to the door and throughout, okay? Because we need 4-sided polygons. Always remember that. Very important. I'll select this, control select this, and control select this. This is our door and window. I can extrude it slightly inside, and then I don't need this one, so I'll delete it. Okay, so we got our doors and windows. Now you can see that there is some chimney there. So, by the way, the door was on the right of the middle and the window was on the left, but to save one line, I created the door from the middle itself. Otherwise, you could create one line and then again the door and then move the door that way. Or I can even though this is not a very great idea, but you can select this and move it around because it is only the door and the window. But I think things if they're clean is better. Alright, so we got the door and the window, now chimney. So we'll go to the side and again edge, and I'll select all these edges and I'll make sure that only these are selected, not the front and the back. And then I'll connect it again, and I'll need 2 lines and they should be close to each other. Okay, so this will be the width of the chimney, and then you can slide it around to decide where you want the chimney to be, either front or back. I'll just leave it in the middle. And then we need one more line here, so I will select all these and I'll connect it, just one line. So I need like a box for the chimney, so I'll say this will be my chimney. Okay, so I'll select this polygon and I'll extrude it up. So you can use the shift key and drag up. Doesn't work. Control undo it. Shift and drag doesn't work, so extrude is the only option. So extrude it up. Again, Alt W to go to all the views, and then Alt W again on the front viewport. So the chimney is the height of the house, and I'm trying to align it here, and then you can select this vertex and simply move it up so the chimney is straight. Okay, now you can see that these lines are not straight, so you can select all of these and scale it in one direction, so you get it, they become straight. Then you can select the other one, scale it, and now it is a straight line. Okay, so now our house is done. Okay, the house is done. Now we need, as we talked about before, no matter how sharp these edges are, they are still soft. Okay, so we need to create the softness, and I'm going to add a chamfer modifier for that. Okay, and then the chamfer amount will be very slight, and then the segments I'll add one more. So it is still very sharp, but if you remove the edged faces, you can see that it looks more realistic. Okay, it's sharp but still has some softness to it. So that's our house. House is done. Now I'll move on to the car. So we'll use a line tool to create the car. Alright, so Alt W, and in the front viewport I'm going to model the car. We'll go to 2D shapes, line, and then our car will start from here, and this is our hood, then this is the windshield, then this is the top of the car, this is the back of the car. We have a slight hood, then we go down. We'll try to match this here. Okay, then we have a little space, and then we'll create the wheel area, drag here, create the other wheel, then we'll close it. Okay. So I created one extra dot there which I don't need, so I can simply delete it. Then we'll make this straight. Okay, so all these lines should be in the straight line. It's not necessary, but alright. So now what we'll do is we'll select this, right click, and then we're going to use Bezier corner, and then I'll drag this down, and see now it is not going left and right, only going up and down. So I'll click here, and now it will go left and right also. So I create this roundness here. I'll select this one, and I'm going to use chamfer option again, fillet. Okay, so you can use a small fillet there to create that roundness. And this one is going to be Bezier, so that both handles work together. So you can create a better curve. And then you can try to match these two. Then same here, I'll go to Bezier. I'm basically right clicking, and then again it's not going left and right, so you have to click here, then it goes left and right. So now we will create a cylinder for our wheel. Okay, and then we can model this around the cylinder so it has a better shape. So this moves closer, this moves closer, and then you can right click and then create a Bezier corner, so you can then control these lines. It still doesn't look like it is in the straight one line. They move. No, they don't move. So I'll have to manually just put this on the ground here and use that as a reference for things and make them straight. So our wheel will be on the ground. Vertex, Bezier corner, click here and then drag around. So try to keep an even distance. Then try to keep this in the middle and horizontal line. Okay, so you get a nice smooth curve, and then you can shift move this here and work on this curve. So these two, right click, Bezier corner. Okay, so this one goes close. So we don't have to really think about how this is done. Basically, this has to be a horizontal line and these have to be vertical lines. and this should not be very far away. And then you can create a nice curve. Alright, so that is our car. Okay, so we will add an extrude. And then we'll extrude the car, so 15 looks good. So this will also be, we don't want any height segments, but the height is, this is 15, so we'll use 17, so the wheels come out. Okay, and not much is going to be visible, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Alright, so now we need the softness again to the car, so we will add a chamfer. Okay, and then the amount is 0.2. Go to edged faces. Okay, and then the segment should be 2. And you can see that there are some, this 0.2 is too much, so maybe 0.1. We don't want these lines, right? These are happening in one place. So to get rid of this, what you need to do is go to your line, and then we'll click on this button. So you see the end result. So we are in the line now, and we need to find the interpolation, and the steps are 6. So if you try to increase the steps, then you can get rid of that. Okay. So you can see that some weird things are happening here because this is like an n-gon. So I think the 7 looks pretty much clean. Alright, I'm not going to spend time creating the parts for this because this looks good enough. Now again, same thing, chamfer. Okay, again 0.1. Segments 2 is good enough. This can be 0.2 because it's a wheel. But again, I don't want these lines, so again I can go back and then you can change the number of sides, and that removes that problem. Okay, so we'll do same thing here. We just need one line here. I don't need these segments. Did I remove those segments here in the cylinder? Yeah. Okay, and then I'll add a chamfer, or you can delete this and then simply Alt W, copy it, and we'll make it an instance. So if you want to make changes, we just have to make changes to 1. Alright. Now we have to move these things around, so better that we'll use the link tool here, and we're going to click on this and drag here, click on this and drag here, so that when we select the car, the wheels move with it. Alright, so our car is done, our wheels are done. We need a box for the windshield. We can create a box. So let's create a box, and we don't need any segments. Right click, move it outside a little bit. 12 by side, so it is placed in the middle. Okay, and then I can add a chamfer to this also. All these things really matter. Okay, so it has softer edges, and then we need two cylinders, so I'll create only one for the headlight. So you can see that there are headlights, there is this, the wheels. You can create 4 wheels if you want the gap, but I'm just going to leave it to 2. So I'll create a cylinder which is quite big. Then the height can be more, so can be placed. Okay, we'll add a chamfer. 0.1, 2. We can go to convert to editable poly and delete half of this to reduce the number of one edge. So that you don't have those chamfered edges inside, take up geometry. I'll copy it here on the other side. Make sure that it is equidistant. Alright, so now again we will link this to the car, this to the car. Okay, and then we'll link the windshield to the car also. So now we have our car and house. Now we'll create the stage for rendering. So, and then our car is at an angle near the house. Both are on the ground. Create a plane. So this is our plane. Modify panel. We don't want any segments. Convert to editable poly. Select the edge. Select this edge. Shift and move up. Okay, select this edge. Chamfer it. Then add some curves. I didn't accept it. So we'll do it again. Chamfer and accept it. Okay, so we get that background with the curve. Okay, for our stage, we'll move the camera back. So then we'll set up the camera. It is at an angle like this. And then this car, the other side of the car is visible, not this side like this. Then maybe it's closer to the house like this. Okay, so this car, we see this side of the car and then the house at an angle. So something like this. And now we can rotate this. I can hit, wait a minute. So I create that camera angle here, Control C to add a camera. And then I can rotate this so that it is perpendicular to the camera. Okay, here we can go to show save frame, so we know what is getting rendered. I guess I'm going to leave the composition to that. The camera can move closer, maybe down. and then the other one can move up, then we can place it in the middle like that. Okay, so we have the camera set up for the house. So it looks like it's HDTV. So we'll go to common and use HDTV 1280 by 720. Okay, so this is our camera setup. And then if you hit, now we need material. So hit the material, we'll add a physical material, double click, name this floor. Okay, select the floor and add it to the floor. Okay, then we will create another material, double click, name it wood. Okay, double click, and this material, I'll make it brown color just so that visually we know what material is going where. So this goes to here and here. Okay, I'll create another material, name it glass, and this is slightly yellowish, and this is slightly whitish. So this goes to this one, and this one. Then we need this one to be wood dark for the car. Okay, so you can simply make it dark wood and assign it to the assign material to selection, assign material to selection. Okay, so if I render it, so we have the house, car, materials all set up. Now there is too much reflection, so I'll close the material. We'll go to the floor and roughness, we'll make it 0.8 and render it. We'll make sure that this is physical camera locked, render, so that we got rid of reflections. Now we will add a wood material for our wood texture. So we'll go to base, general bitmap, and you can search for wood material. I found this wood material. Okay, so if I render it, now I get wood, and it is too glossy, so the roughness can be increased to 0.5. Okay, so you have some reflection, but okay. And then if you want darker wood, I double click here, go to output, turn enable, click on a button here, and now if you drag this to the left, it becomes darker. Okay, so something like that. So you get darker wood. Now you can see that the texture is not correct. Here it's vertical, here it's horizontal, and here the texture is not shown at all. So we need to add a UVW map modifier to our objects. We'll make it box. Select this one. Box again. Then I'll go to camera perspective. Then we can look around our material. So let us look at the house. Now we can see that it is straight, and here also it is straight. But if you look at the image, if you have to follow the image, here it is vertical, here it is horizontal. So what we will do is change the angle. This one. Okay, so this is X fit. So this is vertical, and this is also vertical. Can moving the gizmo help? Okay, so I'll stretch it longer, so the grain is longer. And if you can click on the gizmo, turn the angle snap on and try to rotate it. The way it is modeled, you cannot do vertical and horizontal. Here now, by rotating this at a particular angle, I could get this vertical and this horizontal. So that looks good. And then go to this object, and then we need like a vertical grain throughout, which is happening here. Then again, you can change the width to see more grain if you want. And then same thing you can do here. You can change the grain. Okay, so we'll go to camera. So our texture mapping is done, modeling is done. We'll move on to the lighting. Okay, so this is what we get. Here's the camera angle, slightly up, I guess. Ours is kind of down. Looks good actually, quite similar. So we'll cancel this. This car looks. Where's the image? This looks taller than ours. Can we make it taller? We rotated the car already, so it might be a little difficult to work on. So I'll just ignore that one. Lighting. So if you hit the 8 key, make sure that there's no exposure. Okay. Lights. We are going to use Arnold light, and then we are going to create the first basic quad light. So this comes from side here. If you can see, the shadows are on this side, so the main light is coming from that side. And then you can see that it's lighting up the top of the car, so the light is slightly on top, but on there, so we'll move it up. Okay, and then we'll hit the render button. So now you can see that it is quite dark. So we will leave it the way it is. And we're going to create another light, which is going to be a sky dome. It just needs to exist in the scene. And if we click on rendering, now it's blown out of proportion. So I'll cancel this, go to modify panel, and I'll drop the exposure down to 1, render this. Now it looks little better, but still too blown out. So this intensity will drop to 0.1 and render it now. And now you can see that there's a even light in the scene. And then our main light needs to brighten up the scene. So we'll select the main light. And we will try to increase the intensity instead of the exposure this time. So 2, you can go here and go to active shade so you can see what is happening. Or you can click here and just see the render. Okay, so we need the shadows to be much sharper and more light. So this light can be 0.05 lesser intensity, and this light can be say 4. We'll try to increase the exposure to 9. Okay, and then the shadows become darker. You can see how the shadows are forming. And the shadow is quite sharp. So to make the shadow soft, so let us try 10 exposure. How about 12? Okay, so it has bright shadow. Now the shadow is too sharp. So we'll cancel this. And to make the shadow soft, we need to increase the size of this. So say 60 by 60. Let's see how it looks. The shadows become little soft. We need even more softer shadows. Shadows are quite soft. So the light source is quite big. So 90 by 90 or 120 by 120. Double the size of the light. Okay, and it makes softer shadow. Okay, now the ground is kind of bright and the background is dark. Ours here is quite even. Okay, so what we will do is we will select this, go to material editor, and we'll find the floor material. This is the floor material, and we will add some emission. Okay, and that will make everything bright. Okay, and then you can see that this is kind of a yellowish hue to it compared to what we got. Okay, so more yellowish color to the light. So we'll select the light and add a yellow color to it. Select the light and make it slightly yellowish in color. Then render it. Then you get a yellow hue. Alright, so now the last thing to be done is let us see what happens if this intensity is increased to 0.1. Okay, now we need to look at the roughness. You see how this is very rough. So what we need to do is select this light, and the samples will increase it to 5. The same thing on the other side, increase the samples to 5. And remember, we are doing rendering samples. It is going to take longer time to render, but we get much softer shadows. Okay, and the last thing we can do is, if you go to render setup, go to Arnold renderer. To further increase the rendering quality, we'll increase the diffuse to 6, specular to 6, These two, this number. Okay. So these samples will further give a better quality render. And that's about it. We have recreated the image more or less less than 30, less than an hour, I guess. Okay. So that's about it. Let it finish rendering and we get a final output. I'm going to cancel this render. It's going to take a long time to render, and as you can see, this is pretty much the output of it.